Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I am here to bring you my magical readathon TBR. I cannot believe that it is already April. The magical readathon took place in September of 2021, the first part of it, and it was the first official readathon that I took part in as a booktuber. So I have been making videos for 7 months now. I cannot believe that it's already been 7 months. But I am so excited for this readathon. I forgot all the way up until right before April that this was taking place, and I wasn't totally prepared for it, but I am 100% invested. I loved this readathon when I first took part in it in September. It is so amazing. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the Magical Readathon is a role-playing magical readathon that is hosted by G from Book Roast, and I will link all of the pertinent videos down below so you guys can participate or look it up if you're interested in it. But essentially you are introduced into the world of Eldia, and this world has magic. G has created an entire history for this place. There are multiple continents and characters and races, and your job is to create your own character and your own character's backstory and to participate in this readathon by reading certain books in order to fulfill certain milestones along the path of this story. It is essentially a D&D style readathon that I am completely obsessed with. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and tell you the full story of my experience with the readathon so far, and then I will go on to tell you what this month is going to entail. The beginning of September, we were introduced to the world of Eldia, and Eldia is a world that is imbued with magic because a comet fell from the sky and created a giant crater, and on this comet was a special substance called amylor, which enhances the natural magical abilities of the creatures and races on this continent. The magic of the world, of the people who live in the world, began to grow, and as it grew, the people who were wielding this magic felt this unusual, strange call to go to the site of the crater where the meteor fell. At this place, they found the source of the magic was the strongest. Over time, as more and more magical creatures found their way to this crater, they created an academy where they could learn how to use their magic. As you enter this readathon, you are introduced to the different continents and the different races that live on Eldia, and your job is to choose for your character what race you're going to be and what continent you are going to be from. So there are 4 different continents in Eldia. Etheria, the land of eternal spring and home to the earthlings who wield elemental magic. Dark Meadow, which is the world of cold, snowy storms and darkness, and it is the home of the vast underground library. Carador is the land of elves and humans and is second only to Aurelium in the amount of magic that can be found in this continent. In the world of Carador, the people love to party. They have entertainment and music, and they seldom sleep, and it is the world of joviality and following life's pleasures. And finally, Daerun, which is the land of the Dwarves, and this land is known for its scientific pursuits. The races that you had to choose were humans, which are fickle and prone to corruption. Elves, who are deeply connected to the fabric of the universe. Their powers are strongest at night, and they are renowned for their jewel crafting skills. Earthlings, who have colored leopard spots on their skin depending on their element, red for fire, blue for water, green for earth, and purple for air. And they are strongly connected to the earth and the foundations of the earth. They are forest-dwelling people. You can also choose to be an Iltyrian, who are the keepers of the underground library. They are a race of people who are extremely pale. They have fangs and glowing red eyes, and they have an innate ability to shapeshift, particularly into a crow. The Skymourn people are widely believed to have originated from the home of Amalur. The Skymourn are a race that are innately made of energy. They are originally the form of wisps of energy that can eventually morph into a human-esque body. They are a race that few know much about and are very mysterious. And finally, you can choose to be a dwarf. The dwarves are known for their scientific advances, like I said before, so they are very literal. They are very jealous of their knowledge, and they are constantly seeking and searching to understand more and to learn more and to find new scientific discoveries. Personally, I chose to be a earthling from the land of Eartheria. My character's name is Avani Clay. She and her twin brother have been living alone in the wilds of Eartheria, training to someday attempt the Novice Path and attend the Aurelium Academy and live their dream of pursuing a magical life. They finally, at the beginning of this readathon, make their way to the entrance of the Novice Path. So in the Novice Path, you must travel through a series of obstacles before arriving to the Aurelium Academy. And at each obstacle, you are required to fulfill a prompt using a book that fits that prompt. In September, as we all made our way along the Novice Path, G very creatively wrote a story to go along with our journey on the Novice Path. And she made it a choose your own adventure type story where as you go to each milestone, there is a choice that you have to make. And according to that choice, eventually those choices will help sort you into the guild that you will belong to in the Aurelium Academy. Starting at the Novice Path entrance, I had to read a book with a map, and for this book, I chose The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Moving forward, at the Ashthorn Tree, I read a book that keeps tempting me from the top of my TBR, and that was The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Moving forward into the Mists of Solitude, I had to read a standalone novel, and for this, I read The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. Through the Ruin of the Sky, I read a supernatural book involving ghosts or haunted houses, and my choice was to read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. The Obsidian Falls prompt was to read a thriller or a mystery book, and I read The Wrong Family by Taryn Fisher. I unfortunately did not like this book at all. And then moving on to the Tower of Rumination, I had to read a book that I suspected would be a 5 stars, and for this I began the Farseer trilogy of Robin Hobbs, and it was, of course, a 5-star read. And then finally, up to the Aurelium Arc and the entrance to the Aurelium Academy, I read a book with a school setting, and that was Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. Coming to the Aurelium Arc was where the readathon for September ended, and we had from September until April of this year to create our characters, and we had a series of prompts that we needed to complete in order to complete our character creation. So for the background of my character, Avani Clay, you could choose between either a wildling or an urban background. So of course I chose wildling because my character lived in the forest, and this was to read a book largely set in the forest or outside. And for this prompt, I read The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, which is a thriller that is set in a summer camp wilderness, so it was perfect for this prompt. You also need to read a prompt depending on the continent that you choose your character to be from. I chose Eartheria, and so my prompt was a book that features fae or elven characters. For this prompt, I read A Dark and Hollow Star, and if you see my previous vlogs, I read it recently. It was amazing, 5-star read. And then finally, for my heritage, which is the race that I chose for my character to be, I'm an earthling. So I had to read a book with elemental magic or an elemental word in the series title or the book title. So I chose the most recent book that I read, which was Sisters of the Snake, and they had elemental magic in that story. Coming to the end of the Novice Path, according to the choices that I made, I was sorted into the Order of the Crescent Guild. The Order of the Crescent is a guild with a special focus on nature magic. Many of its members are famous for their mastery of elemental magic, tracking and navigation, animal communication and handling, shape-shifting, and nature reading. Mentors focus on the teaching and appreciation of coexistence with natural forces, as well as how to recognize, channel, and use the energy available. The ability to read and interpret the changing signs and behaviors of the world's fauna, flora, and weather are known strengths of the guild members. As a member, you will be taught how to find and befriend an animal familiar who will stick by your side until the very end. You will learn how to care for, communicate, and bond with it. This is a very special bond, connecting two souls for a lifetime of companionship, and is entirely based on mutual trust, understanding, and affection. Your familiar will be able to aid you in your studies, life, and battles. Your magic's strength will also vary depending on your bond, and some sorcerers are able to unlock magic unknown to many, entirely unique to the pair of you. This guild is known to organize explorational expeditions that are often used as a way to strengthen the connection between yourself and nature, as well as practice observation and tracking skills. They host many celebrations, the biggest being the winter and summer solstice, as well as the spring and autumn equinox. This is held at the Crescent Grove, a beautiful, members-only garden, a little sacred escape from the city and the world around you. So as a member of the Order of the Crescent, there are a few things that I need to accomplish in order to be formally admitted into the Aurelium Academy. And this was supposed to take place last month in the Gear Up mini readathon that she hosted for the Magical Readathon, and I was a little distracted by other things in March, and I did not get around to it. So this is the first order of business for my Magical Readathon journey in April. The first thing that I had to do is pick a animal familiar and try to read a book that features that animal. Now, for a really long time now, my favorite animal has been a fox, and that happened when I read Even the Darkest Stars during Polarthon last year, and I loved the fox companion in that story, and I just have fell in love with foxes ever since. I had a bit of a difficult time finding a book for this. I am currently listening to The Hidden World of the Fox by Adele Brand. This is an audiobook that I found on Scribd, and it is a nonfiction book all about foxes and their relationship to humans in England. So it's a very specific book. Members of the Aurelium Academy must choose a magical conduit, which they can use to control their power. For the Order of the Crescent, they had a few options: a quarterstaff, a bow, and a trident. I have always wanted to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow, and archery has always been a sport that has drawn my attention and my interest, so I chose a bow. And this prompt is to find a book with the word hunt either in the title or in the author's last name. So for this book, I have chosen Fishnetree by Linda Mulally Hunt. This is a book that I've had for a little while. It was last year's, or maybe the year before, I think it was 2 years ago, the Oregon Battle of the Book choice for young readers. It is a middle grade book about a young girl who is attempting to make her way through school with dyslexia, which is an unfortunate reading disability that makes reading really difficult for young people and adults alike. So it's something that is very close to my heart as a teacher of young children, and I am really excited to give this a go. Which brings me finally to the main readathon of April 2022, which is your entrance into the Aurelium Academy and your choices of study and what classes you need to take and the prompts that you need to take in order to complete those courses. So I love the magical school trope in basically any book that I read, and having a readathon to do this with is so much fun. When you enter the Aurelium Academy, you can choose a specific calling that your character wants to follow. And it's essentially a magical career or a magical job that they are training to be. This is what they want to do with their life. And G has outdone herself with the options for this readathon. I mean, there are so many anything that your heart desires is pretty much in this list of callings that you have to choose from. Just some examples: you can be a dream walker who projects themselves into other people's dreams. You can be an alchemist, a mind mender, someone who heals the traumas of the mind. You can be a beast master, someone who explores and understands and learns about magical beasts. You can be a crafts mage, someone who specializes in anything that is made, so sewing, weaving, carpentry, metal forging, anything that is creatively made. You could be a story weaver or a healer or an herbologist or an archmage. You can be an illusionist rogue, someone who is very charismatic and good at getting what they want in any situation. It just really reminds me, honestly, of the D&D handbooks that you get. And so this is but for my calling for my character, I have chosen to pursue a career as a Feywild cartographer. There is a quote at the beginning of each of these callings, and it is from a previous scholar who has gone through the academy before your character. And the quote for the Feywild cartographer is, "I have never been so in awe and yet so afraid in all of my life." From Verity, who graduated in 509. The Feywild is a recently discovered realm and urgently needs mapping. This is the Feywild cartographer's prime concern. While it may sound a simple task, the Feywild is not a simple place. The forests change to match your mood, growing darker and barren as you tire, and then bursting with life as your energy lifts. The flow of rivers can change directions, mountains rearrange themselves while you sleep. It is a tricky and challenging place to understand. Then there are the Fae themselves, beautiful, mercurial, deadly. Their magic is odd and unknown to fellows of Eldia. Whilst not every Fae you encounter will be hostile, those who are will often have a hidden motive, which will most likely come at the cost of your well-being. Fae will often act in ways they will later label as favors, and the next thing you know, you are in their debt. The level of cautiousness needed when traversing this realm is above anything mages have ever known. For this reason, cartographers are never sent out alone. A team of abjurers, spell swords, healers, and rift architects accompanies them. Because of the perils they face, there is often a sense of camaraderie between those who adventure in this strange realm. Along with mapping the terrain, cartographers will also catalog its flora and fauna. If there are elements beyond their knowledge, they may need to accompany herbologists and beastmasters on future expeditions. As a Feywild cartographer, I have a list of classes that I must complete in the term spring equinox, which is April this month, and then another series of courses that I must complete in the autumn equinox, which will take place at the end of the summer in August. So the courses that I am going to be focusing on this month are elemental studies, shape-shifting, animal studies, astronomy, alchemy, inscription, and demonology. Looking at the syllabus for spring, there are different prompts for each course, and I have gone through and chosen a book for each prompt. Now, as the month goes on, depending on how I'm doing with my reading, depending on how things are going with my other tarot TBR, I may have to move these things around, but as of now, this is my TBR that I'm going to be pursuing for April and for Magical Readathon. First class on this list is Alchemy, and the focus of this class is making a potion of infatuation. The prompt for this course is to read a book that is featuring a romance, and so for this prompt, I chose Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. This is a book that I was reading with my cousin a few months ago and just never picked up again. I loved the beginning. I thought it was so funny and lighthearted and fun. And I know that once I pick it up again, I'm just going to breeze through it. And with the springtime feelings. I always feel like going into my love of period films and period novels during the springtime. So I'm super excited to pick this one up for this readathon. My next course on the list is Animal Studies, and the focus is The Ways of a Pegasus. For this, I need to pick a book that is a quick read. I chose to pick up Cody by Jodi Cullum. This is a library book that I picked up earlier this month, and it is supposed to be really sad, but it is a beautiful watercolor graphic novel, and it should be really quick and sweet and sad. Next is the Astronomy class, and the focus for this class is asteroids and comets. This prompt is to read a book that is on the top of your TBR list, and for me, this month, that is the 5th installment of the Magus of the Library series. I read this last month and fell in love with it, absolutely. This is the last installment that they have published. The next one is coming out in December, and I cannot wait. And I really, really hope that they come up with an anime for this because it's so good. My next class is Demonology. The focus of the course is shadow demons. So I have to pick a book that has the word shadow in the title. I thought about Shadow and Bone because I've been wanting to watch the series that came out last year, but I ended up picking a different book, and this book is called The Shadow in the Glass, and it is a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella. My next course is Elemental Studies, and the focus of this is Basics of Air Dynamics, and this is to read a book under 100 pages. I do not own a single book that is less than 100 pages. Most of my books are over 400 pages. I like big chunky books. So I had a hard time with this, but eventually after searching my Goodreads, I was able to find one that I've been really wanting to read, and that is The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon. This is the novella that it comes before her Bone Season series, and I've been really wanting to tackle that series. My next course is Inscription with a focus on strength, understanding the glyph of strength. And for this, it is to read an intimidating read. For me, I had a couple of options for this, but I already have such a ginormous TBR. I did not want to add a huge book to my TBR for this month, so I went ahead and pulled from my tarot TBR for this, and I'm going to put Enough is Enough as my intimidating read for the Magical Readathon as well as my tarot TBR. It's intimidating because it's nonfiction, and it's intimidating because it is about gun safety and preventing school shootings, which is a difficult subject for me. And then finally, my last course for the spring equinox is to learn how to shapeshift. It is the shape-shifting course, and the focus is the formation of claws. So essentially, you have to read a book that has an animal with claws on the cover. I might change this later on, but for now, I have chosen Arusha and the End of Time. I started this audiobook beginning of last year, maybe the year before, and I didn't really like the writing. I didn't like the audiobook very much, but I haven't tried reading the physical copy, so I'm going to give it another chance and see if I like it. If I end up not liking this, I might DNF it and choose something different. But on the cover, you can see there is a lion, and lions have claws. So we're going with that. That is my TBR for this April's Magical Readathon. I love this readathon so much. I know I've said that so many times in this video, but I just can't say it enough. I think that G is an absolutely brilliant creative person. I think that she should have created this into a book and sold it for money for D&D role-playing games. Like, it's so good. But I am just so grateful that she's created this for us and that we can follow her on this journey and have this amazing, epic experience of a readathon. It is the perfect combination for people who love to read and also love D&D. So yes. Anyway, I am going to go get started on that TBR because it's huge and it is already April 2nd and I would like to get a move on. So If you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. If you are participating in the Magical Readathon, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're reading. Link your socials so I can see your TBR videos, your Instagram, whatever it is you're doing. I love to connect with you guys. And that's all for today. Until next time, take care.
Yesterday, there was some